good in Skype, at least.
Can't really. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
See what
So this is Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage. I'll be doing 100%. And this game is very notorious for a certain jump mechanic that's very broken. And we call it the double jump.
Sort of a misnomer.
Yeah, you just saw it right there when I jumped for the green gem. Basically, the double jump is jumping, and then maybe 1/4 into your jump, you charge. But before you charge, you let go in any of directions you were holding. And this ends up with Spyro charging upwards in the air, giving me tons of height.
Yeah, so you'd think with double jump it would be like in traditional double jump games, you know, where you jump and then you're in the air and you jump again. And that's not what the double jump is, because we're bad at naming tricks. It's just the jump mechanic that lets you get way more height than you're supposed to with your jump.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what you're looking for, it can be hard to spot, but if you're playing the game, it's very obvious how much extra height you are getting. That lets you get all over the place.
Okay. This level, Glimmer,
Hard.
is
Hard.
pretty hard.
Lots of people are really good at it because you reset a lot in Glimmer, so we play Glimmer a lot. But it's probably just like objectively, as far as the route goes, one of the hardest levels that we do in this category. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of cycles you're trying to make, and lots of them are really tight. There's a lot of using the double jump mechanic and another thing that we call flame charge jumping, and all that that's doing is making Alex's flame go diagonally upward, which is not something that you're really supposed to do. Using that to hit lamps from the ground level. It's supposed to be doing other stuff to hit the lamps, specifically using a power-up that lets you kind of fly around the level. Blocking that takes time, time's bad, so we don't do that. And also, the jump he did to demonstrate double jumping at the beginning of the run made him skip to the very end of the level, so... backwards.
Which is done because of the lizard challenge. It starts at the end of the level and then ends right here, near the beginning. So it's obviously just better to start it first play.
It's pretty much the thing that the whole route is based around, really, is the lizard challenge. It takes a very linear route through the level, so the goal is to try to maximize the amount of stuff you get while taking that linear route through the level.
That was a pretty good Glimmer.
Yeah, I didn't see anything go wrong.
And what usually sucks about that level is that every other level and in the game I have an exit level option, but in Glimmer you don't have that, so the developers just decided they'll force you to do that level, or get the talisman at least.
Yeah,
so
because the cutscene at the end talks about talismans and stuff.
Yeah.
So they kind of want to make sure that you got it before you leave. Sucks for resetting though, because you can't, even if you're just like, okay, I want to start the game over again, there's no quit game option, there's no exit level option, so you have to go get the talisman, skip the cutscenes, and...
Yeah. Glimmer would be over faster, like around when you get the last lizard, but...
Yeah, because you could grab the talisman earlier in the level and sort of route around that. But yeah, instead you have to go back.
So this route's gonna be a little weird. Because I guess a couple people in the chat might be wondering why I'm not going into Idle Springs or Colossus now. But around a year and a half ago, a little bit more actually.
Yeah, almost 2 years at this point for Gulp Skip. Yeah, it was November 2 years ago.
A skip into Gulp was found. And it's changed the old any percent category a lot, and this category by
a lot.
Yeah. The route is
category is so different.
The route is not linear at all. You do a lot of backtracking, but it's for a very good reason.
It's neat because it makes it very different from the runs before and after this. The Spyro 120, Spyro 1, and the Spyro 3 117, which both are very linear. Every home world, you go into the home world, and then you beat all the levels, get all the gems from the levels, get all the gems in the home world, and then you leave. And you do that over and over again until you've beaten the game and you get out of the bonus areas. But in Spyro 2, instead, we're just like making a beeline for a glitch that'll let us get Fireball, Infinite Fireball early. So the goal is pretty much to get that as soon as possible. With a few exceptions. Obviously, you want to beat Glimmer because you start in the level, and then it just sort of works out in the homeworld route. This level gets so little out of starting it with Fireball, and entering this level and on your way to Crush is so effective that you may as well just do it right now. We used to also need to be routing to get enough gems to get Head Bash as soon as we were going to go and get Fireball, but now that's not even a problem because other silly skip. That's what we'll talk about when we get to. Long story short, all we're doing right now, all Alex is trying to do is go straight to the end of the game. That's pretty much the goal. There's a level that's supposed to open up after you beat the last boss, and that's our end goal as of right now. Where we want to be as soon as possible. That Ocean Speed Racing really good too. Solid.
Right, so now we're going to go straight into the first boss of this homeworld, which is, his name is Crush.
Fortunately, in a speedrun, he's a really simple. There's not a lot of fun stuff you can do, and there's not really much you can do. Speed Crush up beyond some basic stuff. You don't play him like you would casually, but it's not like anything significant. Boss goes pretty much, it's very scripted. It goes the same way every time. And in a speedrun, all you can really do is do something really stupid and really mess Crush up. Should be difficult, but tends to happen sometimes. Everything else is just very basic. Just get Crush to move quickly between these little pads that he stands on to do attacks. So Alex is gonna
basically
very
I'm
much
damage abusing so that Crush moves a little bit off the platform, and then when all the rocks stop or just dissipate, he'll move back to this. It's very quick.
Because otherwise he'd do what he did on purpose the first time, but Crush would do that every time where he would run between platforms. Alex wasn't taking these hits and just hitting Crush the quote-unquote normal way. But back and forth between two different platforms, and that's not as good. The reason that he made him move the first time is because right now Crush is on a blue platform for this final phase, and that's what we want.
The red
Do
platforms,
exactly what he's doing here.
yeah, the red platform shoots fireballs, which you can't really do a regular jump over. The only way you can get over only way you can get over is a double jump and flop.
Yeah, which is a little slow and easier to mess up. So, I don't know, maybe you could, like, theoretically save time if you did a really perfect crush, just, like, not that first time. But it's so hard to do that. And it would save so little time, it's not really... Alright, so now that we've beat Crush, our goal now is to go straight to Gulp. We beat Boss 1, time to beat Boss 2. Not stopping at any levels along the way. Right now this looks a lot like any percent, plus just like get a few gems that happen to be in your way. Specifically like those gems in that pool of water he got, and now lots of the ones up here. You still get the orb?
Yep.
Okay. It probably sounded dumb me asking. I'm delayed by about 5 seconds visually behind what,
Right.
like my voice behind what would be shown on the stream. So you're probably already like taking the whirlwind to this orb.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh. So unfortunate. What happened there is he just missed one of the 3 gems that are out there on the little platform. So he's gonna use this sort of faster.
Okay. We're just gonna be bad.
Rip.
Okay.
Ooh.
No real backup for what I do there. I usually just take it risky here.
Yeah.
I usually try to flame charge the baskets and land on the orb.
Yeah, I've been going for that now too, and usually it works out, but yeah, sometimes something dumb happens, and it's a very committal sort of strategy. If you miss something, you just SOL, like there's... So now, it sort of sucks that he's lost 2 stocks like that, because now every time you mess up Gulp Skip, you have to just kind of kill yourself, because the idea here is that we're using a breakable wall to sort of help push Spyro through this dumb little corner here. He'll clip into the wall sort of halfway. Half of Spyro's body will be in bounds and half out of bounds almost exactly. Thing is, you can't really see it, but there's a breakable wall right where Spyro's standing. Like, Spyro is halfway in it right now. And so if you were to want to go back through it, you need to break the wall, and if you break the wall, there's no way to make it come back. Like, no amount of exiting levels, quitting and saving, or anything will bring it back. Your run's just dead. Can't do Gulp Skip. Everyone's sad. So...
Got it second try at least. And I
and it was a pretty good one. After the clip, everything went great, but...
did a little safe strat. There's a faster way to, like...
Yeah, somebody found a fast, consistent way to sort of get through the wall instead of jumping around and going into the pillar.
Usually once you get the clip, it's good for any percent because, you know, it's quick category and you can reset on it.
Not like 15 minutes into the run.
Usually once you clip in the wall, you kind of just charge jump at a specific time through the wall, like in front of the breakable wall.
Yeah, you just sort of get the clip and then you jump forward and then you jump out of the wall pretty much. And it's quick, but it is precise. It seems like the angle matters and the timing matters pretty much on when you jump and charge and that you jump and charge at. You mess it up, you just fall out.
Yeah. Oh.
Goal here is double hits.
And Gulp. Just RNG, basically.
Yeah. Now what you want is to hit Gulp with, like, 2 times with 1 set of ammo, 1 set of 3 eggs, as often as possible. And then, also for a trick later, we want to be at no health. And the last real time we can take damage before the level we want to be at no health at is here in Gulp. So Alex is sort of taking hits from his own explosions and stuff, and that's totally on purpose, because the goal is to hopefully on this last hit damage.
Yep.
But at no health. Here in Gulp. So Alex is sort of taking hits from his own explosions and stuff, and that's totally on purpose, because the goal is to hopefully on this last hit damage.
Yep.
But at no health. Here in Gulp. So Alex is sort of taking hits from his own explosions and stuff, and that's totally on purpose, because the goal is to hopefully on this last hit. Yeah.
Alright. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't my internet.
Okay. So now I see the stream. And it seems viewers are getting back where I was, or regardless. Just did sort of double skip. Swimming in the water there will crash your game unless you're at no health. That was the whole idea behind getting no health, is so that we could swim in the water there. Then the idea behind and the goal for swimming in the water is that we need a couple of things. We need the fireball, permanent fireball power-up, so we grab that, and then you watch the cutscene that says that you beat Ripto, then the game is just like, okay, he beat Ripto. And one of the things that it does because you beat Ripto, it gets rid of money bags in the game. Because during the cutscene after killing Ripto, you talk to Moneybags and he's like, "Thank goodness you're an awesome person and you saved everything." And then Laura and Hunter are all like, "Come on, Moneybags, don't be a jerk. You took all of Spyro's money for him to be able to do this, and now he saved the world, so, like, you should give him his money back." And he's like, "I don't know," and then Hunter sits on him, squishes all the money out, and then you get the money. So, watching that cutscene, it's rid of all instances of Moneybags, and sort of instantly gives you everything that Moneybags would have given you, and a big thing that's included in that is, like, Head Bash and Climb. So instead of buying Head Bash and Climb, paying to open a bunch of portals, we are now, that's all paid for, that's all done. It's all in credit. It doesn't save very much time, really, unless you're going for a really crazy, incredible time, and AllyDest is the only person who's got crazy, incredible times. Really shouldn't bother going for that trick. It saves a pretty small amount of time.
Yeah. It's about a 22-second detour if done optimally. And all the money bags that are gone from it, basically it works out to end up saving time over it.
Yeah, but it's only like 8 seconds or something, right? It's maybe a little more, because there's some Moneybags cutscenes that are long, like watching Shady Oasis Bridge, and sometimes you gotta talk to him, but it can't be more than like 40-50 seconds that you spend talking to Moneybags and watching Moneybags cutscenes, and it's a 22-second detour, so it's like
You
somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds that you're saving, if everything goes well.
you pretty much get rid of approximately 36 seconds of Moneybags cutscenes or dialogue.
Got it. Plus the potential for like slight route variations that would be a tiny bit faster on top of that.
Like you can also do without theater, but it would probably end up being harder in the long run. Because there's one level where you can do it, but it uses like a certain bridge that lowers from having to pay money bags. Which will be shown in the run later.
We were sort of talking about other stuff over top of this level, and the level went really well, and it's a very goofy level. The route in that level is not really the way they expect you to go through it. He went through it pretty linearly, or not, like the correct order, I guess. He went mostly in the circle that you're supposed to go in, but during that going through that circle, he also broke a bunch of pumpkins, and then got to the end of the level and got all the mystery jars real quick. Then he had just one pumpkin that he left over on purpose. He could break that pumpkin and instantly get warped back, get that orb, and have it work out nicely in his route. Long story short, the route's really cool and efficient and kind of all over the place. It's great.
So yeah, here's like a speedway you're really supposed to pay money bags for. But watching the last cutscene in the theater, again, gets rid of all the money bags, so you also have all the abilities.
Go to the portal.
So you save a little bit of time over having to pay for it. Just probably like 4 seconds.
Yeah, this is one that's one of the sort of longer ones, especially because you get to enter the portal a much nicer way. Eggs is in here. Speedway went pretty good. Fortunately missed one vulture and had to turn around for him, but it's about the extent of the bad things. Just like 2 seconds. Now, the most enthralling and skill-based part of the speedrun. Hold down the circle button, and you point at balloons.
And blimps.
Hope that the game doesn't hate you. Sometimes you can see it if you're looking for it. Sometimes these bullets will just, like if you're kind of close to a wall, things like bullets will just all get eaten by the wall in front of you.
Aiming is kind of weird in here as well.
Yeah, it's
like you can point towards a balloon as early as possible, but I guess the game doesn't want you to shoot it yet or something.
Yeah, it does weird wonky things. Your bullets are sort of strange. So you do have this pointer, but the bullets actually do like come one from each wing back and forth, and that actually sort of alters their trajectory. So you can miss weird things because of the way your wings are oriented in space, or some bullets are kind of lagging behind your circle cursor. There are a couple of blimps that I've failed on a couple of times where it really feels like a stupid wall is half the reason I failed. If you miss a blimp, you have to start the thing all over, so. But it almost never happens. Staircase.
Oh. Whoop. Okay. Sparks grabbed a butterfly before getting that one gem from the rock. But as I entered the portal, Sparks grabbed it while I was transporting.
It's really interesting.
That's weird. Okay.
I know. Good job, game.
Game saved me a few seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately, missing that gem would not have been catastrophic anyway. It would have been a very minor thing, so long as Alex remembered that he had missed it and went back to grab it. It's only like a second or two out of the way, just like you said.
Don't know why I charged that bottle instead of flame charging.
Alright, so this is another level with sort of an interesting route, I guess. It's not nearly as crazy as it is if you're doing it without Fireball. It's got this set of puzzles that you need to do in order. So first you need to do the one that he did, jumping on the 4 squares to make all the squares light up. Then you've got to do this one with the fish. It's one near the end of the level that you...
Yeah.
Fish is just straight RNG, and it really sucks that it's in a speedrun.
This guy
Sit
basically
here.
has 3 puzzles, or little things
Yeah.
like this for us. This isn't even
Puzzle-y,
a puzzle.
challengey thing. Yeah, it's just like... Well, I think it is sort of the first time you play it. The idea is that the puzzle is figuring out that he doesn't like the red fish. There's nothing in the game that's like, don't give him red fish or it will cause problems. They just say, like, he's really picky, or something like that, and then you have to sort of deduce the red fish make him throw up.
Still a sucky challenge because it's
Yeah.
also RNG.
Really dumb RNG too. Which fish spawn is totally random, so as far as just like you just hope that you don't get a bunch of red fish, but on top of that, the other kind of bad RNG you can get there is just no fish. You can sit for a long time and have no fish jump out of the water at all. So it's not just the colors of fish, it's also the amount of time you spend waiting between fish.
The frequency of when fish come out of the water.
You can have ones that go really poorly, and it's like you only get like 4 red fish or something, which shouldn't be that bad. But you're spending so much time waiting between fish, and that almost feels worse. My opinion. I'd rather get red fish jumping out of the water than just be sitting staring at the water.
So last puzzle, and I'll be teleported back to where the first puzzle was.
So you
It's
still
kind
do
of-
it this way.
Yeah. Oy, I messed that up.
Oh, it was real close too.
Just turned in a bad way. Oops. Yeah.
So that's... We call it chest proxy. Proxy is a dumb word that we use to describe getting pushed out of stuff. So you're in a thing and the game's like, no, don't be in that thing, and then you go up. That's sort of, or sometimes forward. You go in a direction away from the thing that's bad. And that doesn't get used a whole lot in this category, but the primary way that you can abuse a proxy is by having some sort of entity that the game will let you charge through just fine. It doesn't act like it's there while you're charging. But if you stop charging, or if you're walking into it, it won't let you through it. It treats it like it's an object unless you're charging. And there happens to be one of those things that's sort of a boundary that stops you from jumping on that chest. Chest is something that you're not supposed to land on, and so if you're jumping over it, it has like a dome over the top of it that won't let Spyro through, so it'll slide off of any side. But if you're charging, you can go straight through that dome. And so the goal is to sort of use Spyro's buttons in all the right ways so that you are charging through that spot, and suddenly for just 1 frame, you are not charging through that spot, and the game just kind of poops you out. You can also do that off of enemies' corpses and otters' corpses, which I'm sure has been seen a lot throughout this marathon already.
Yeah.
In any percent categories and stuff, it's much more common.
That's pretty much the only proxy in this run, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm sure you could squeeze in a few more if you really wanted to, like, make your route stupid to execute. Like a penguin proxy or something.
Yeah,
All with head bash.
yeah, if you wanted to, you don't want to do theater, you can use penguin proxy. I can't use penguin proxy because I have to be sparksless entering.
Oh,
Dragon
yeah.
Shores.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you kill the fodder, you just get sparks. Yeah, it's like, why can't we do it? But can't say that. Very obvious.
Oh,
Penguin proxy involves killing a penguin. Penguin killing involves getting health. Sacrifice the penguins for the good of the... It's not what you want in this route. This is another route, sort of like Glimmer. We've got one challenge that sort of is supposed to be something that happens near the end of the level. And it's a challenge that he started by talking to the professor. And now all of the statues that were in this level, there are 10 of them, they all turned green because they're all possessed by a spooky ghost. And
Whoa.
to save the statues from the spooky ghost so as to eradicate him from... It was really weird.
I heard the jump sound from that, but I
It's like
barely
teeny
got a
tiny.
jump.
It's like Stutter Jump Plus.
Yeah, that'd be awful to have in Spyro 3. Anyway,
So yeah, the whole route here sort of,
yeah,
instead of going in the order you are supposed to, you just
It's
get to
just-
Professor quickly and then
yeah,
get all the statues.
it's all based
then you do
around
it
this
mostly in
statue
order.
challenge.
The exception of that weird out of bounds. And that out of bounds, speaking of which, some people might have been looking at that and thinking like, why is there just a hole in the level? Like Alex literally just jumped out of the level. He's like, let's go through this hole here that happens to be there. And that's not like, if you were playing casually, you'd never see that hole. The reason is, there's a doorway that you talk to these different guys, and one of them you watched him raise an elevator for Alex. You talked to him, and then it raised a lift. There's one of them that he never did talk to, that he just sort of skipped past, and he raises a door. And then if you went through that door after it was raised, there'd be no hole there. But because he got on the other side of the door before the door was raised up, it's sort of a hole in the level, because it never anticipate you getting through. It's open.
There's actually two you skip, though.
Yeah, you do.
One in the
skip.
beginning and the one kind of in the middle of everything.
Here at hockey,
Hockey sucks.
goal in hockey is to go quick. It feels like it could be random, but it's sort of not actually random. And the goal is to get quick shots. And quick shots are the things he got the first 2 times, and the 4th time.
Not the 5th time.
Oh. So 3 quick shots is not bad. That's actually...
It's a good
Is it-
ratio.
Yeah, each long shot takes what, like almost 10 seconds, and each quick shot takes something like 3. It's probably about right. So you're saving
is
about 7-ish seconds.
Yeah.
Or yeah, I guess that's a better way to put it. You're losing 7 seconds for every long shot that you have to do. So losing 14 is not too bad. It feels way better than losing 35 seconds.
Thing is about hockey, like getting quick shots is based around your camera and I guess
Just sort of your
directions you're
position.
holding or something.
Yeah. Where you are, where you're moving to, and like your orientation, so like how you're turned, all of it.
And that's
Lots
based,
of dumb things.
It's based where the goalie will shoot the puck. And it's very precise too.
Yeah, because
I
there's
use-
so many different little things.
There is a visual cue I use for trying to get quick shots, but again, it's not really consistent. Also, that was awesome.
Yep. You love it when the puck clips out of bounds. cost you.
And it almost did it again.
Oh yeah, it did. Holy cow. Which was it would have been really weird if it clipped right there, because that wasn't like going into a corner or into one of the weird nooks in the wall at all. It just kind of hit against a solid wall. It's like got sucked back out of bounds.
Well done.
So he purposefully, that's another situation that seems it's really a common thing across this whole game. There are lots of challenges where once you finish them, you get teleported to the guy who is associated with the challenge, and he gives you the orb for completing it. And there are lots of times where you don't want to be teleported to like right back to the middle of the level when you're almost done with it. So you purposefully save one little piece of the challenge for after you're done with everything, or after you're done with everything in a given area or whatever, then get teleported. Sometimes the teleport's really convenient, and so you set it up so that you do get teleported like right when you want to. Happens. Either working around teleports or using teleports to your advantage. There are a lot of teleports in this game.
Alright. So here's personally my favorite level in the game to speedrun, and just in general.
Yeah, I love this level a lot. It's definitely one of my favorite in the game, and definitely for runs, it's just got great routes. It's like, no matter how many reroutes the level gets, the gems are just in such a place that it's always really fun to move. Alex is doing a really neat route that's sort of new, and didn't you make the route, sort of? I think Leatis was using this skip, but I think...
Yeah, he was using the skip the first time when he was running this game. But my route is a little bit different, because he did things in a different order.
Yeah. This isn't a route that a lot of people are using yet, and I don't think we've ever come up to an official consensus on like how much time it saves or doesn't save, but it seems like they're about the same speed as far as just getting all the gems and moving through the level, but the expectation, the assumption that we're making because of how it seems, and it's just that where you start doing that skip and doing this lightning orb challenge probably saves a little bit of time, because sort of start the lightning orb challenge right by the first orb. Instead of having to kind of mess around to get into position here. So this challenge, when you're playing casually, and even when you're learning the run, it seems really random. Just seems like things are doing things for no reason. It's mad that purple guys aren't spawning when you want them to, and you don't know where they're taking orbs, and you don't remember where your orbs are going to be. But it is very not random. That challenge is super scripted. So if you can do everything at the right timing and get all the orbs in the right order, it always goes just about the same way. So that is how Alex beat it so fast. And it's one of those challenges that really sucks while you're learning it, and it really sucks for a lot of your first runs, and then when it finally clicks, the challenge gets pretty fun, in my opinion. Some people still hate it, but it's pretty neat. This is the first area of the room, or of the level, first room of the level.
Okay.
Skipping right to the end of the level.
Had a good cycle, but I bonked, so it got a little bit risky.
Yeah, but it still worked out.
Sometimes when
ended up losing, but
sometimes when the platforms are moving away from under you, you can, like, you expect a charge jump, but sometimes you can flop off of them and die.
Spyro.
And in this route, it's really bad because you can spawn pretty far
The next clock. Remember to press
back from it, I
triangle when you
think.
are very close to the region, or you won't make it.
Actually, probably not. There is a... So he kind of...
That's me. So, after that orb challenge, the rest of the level really is just collecting gems. There are a few orbs. He got them sort of weird. If you've played this game casually, you probably remember the challenge of you have to sort of hit a bunch of different buttons throughout the level, and it slows down a bunch of spinning windmills that are like horizontally oriented windmills, so that you can stand on the blades because they're moving slow enough, so you hit the buttons to make them do that. And then you sort of jump across all of these windmills, and it gives you 2 orbs. There's one like right in the middle of this challenge and one at the end. But fortunately with the double jump, you don't need to deal with that, and you can really just stick those orbs in the middle of your level route. Just kind of grab all of them when they're convenient. So other than that, it's just grabbing all the gems in a fast way, and the level's really fun for that reason, I think. Nothing much besides just moving dragons fast, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and shout out to Ty for the route for the last area of Veracruz.
Yeah, it's so good. It's that room really sucked to move through because there's just no quick way to get everything, and then Isaiah realized somehow there is a quick way to get everything.
Yeah,
It ends up you finally unlock a lightning door too, which had never sort of been considered.
After we kind of, like, after hitting the button in that little factory, which we get an orb for, we usually do a 14 tally skip. Or used to, but that route ends up being a couple seconds faster over that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The whole idea is those lightning doors, they only worked when you're facing, or when you're going through them back or forwards. Through them the correct direction that the game anticipates, and if you go through them backwards, then they just don't work. So the way we had always done the route was like, let's make sure that we never have to open a lightning door by starting behind the very last one and then just moving backwards from there. Level. But instead, Ty realized that maybe if you went not quite behind the last door, you could still save time just by opening one of the doors instead of the fact that they don't work.
So all the turtle boxes I've been destroying. All these boxes contain turtles, which is a challenge we do with a fireball power-up we're supposed to get by killing enemies. But since we already have fireball, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, the boxes just break. Yeah, that's true.
But we're skipping that 7th one to do this first.
Yep,
You'll
it's
see
another
little cool
teleport.
strat at the end
Yeah.
that I found a bit recently.
Yeah, and it's really neat. And it's another situation where if you broke that last box, it would teleport us back to the middle of the level, and we're at the end of the level and we've almost got everything, so we don't want to be middle of the level again. Not yet. So first we do this, and then there's just 10 more gems left in the form of 5 green gems in the bottom of this pool. So we want to get those, and then after that we want to be able to break the box. And then the level would pretty much be complete. And so usually we do that in sort of the way you'd anticipate. You jump in the pool, get the 10 gems, jump out of the pool, back down, box, get the teleport, get the last orb. But turns out that's slower. Alex has other plans.
Yeah, don't blink, which I said that a bit late.
So, what happened is the fireball in the water has got a weird hitbox. Spyro's head can kind of stick through the walls a little bit, and it's just enough so that he can shoot a fireball, and instead of it hitting the wall in front of him, Spyro's head's so far into the wall that it goes through the wall. So Alex kind of angled himself in just the right way, so he shot a fireball through the wall, sort of down at an angle, so it would hit the last box in the water. And This button, on the other hand, does not want fireballs. Here's another place where you save time over because of theater. If you did use the theater skip so that you could get all of the Moneybags cutscenes removed, you'd have to talk to Moneybags and have him lower that wall there.
Yeah. And the cutscene for lowering the wall isn't skippable.
Yeah, so that's it's not super long, but it's just like seconds that you sit there talking to Moneybags and then watching him fall for you.
Yeah, if you notice at the beginning of the run while I was skipping into Crush, I used that raised wall to, well, skip into Crush. And it's not there anymore.
Longer need to use the sparkling beauty of gems to jog Moneybags' memory.
So, this is Aquaria Towers, and it has a pretty cool route, which also uses something from Laetus.
Yep.
That little...
He sort of made weird routes for lots of levels. Lots of them didn't end up sticking. It seemed like he ran the game specifically to just make weird routes through levels that other people weren't using, and some of them turned out to be really good.
Like this one.
Yeah. There is a patch of water, and it only works if you show up in this level with Head Bash, which you're not supposed to do, because, or at least not supposed to do the first time you play through the level. Get Head Bash in the third home world, and this is in the first home world. You're supposed to have to beat this level to move on. So that never happened, so we're here for the first time and we have Head Bash. And you do a couple of double jumps and you sort of end up in a situation where there is a water barrier that it is assumed you'd have to have pressed the first button to get to, so it's already right there, and you can sort of abuse it to let you get swim in sort of the whole level. So this area that we're at right now, I guess the way the level is formatted is there are 3 buttons in the level, and you press each of them to slowly raise the water level until the whole level is filled with water, and then you get the talisman. And then once the whole level is filled with water, there's a big hole in the ceiling, and you can travel up through that and do some extra stuff. Because now the whole level is filled and you can get to the top. But we're already in the top area, and obviously we've not finished the whole level. That's just because of that first skip. Use Head Bash. Get up here. Do everything that you're supposed to do at the end of the level. Turns out that it's pretty convenient.
So right there was the talisman guy, which I'm not getting him now because of a certain thing that goes wrong when you try to get him. Well, he only gives the talisman basically when you hit the last button in the level, which I just did.
Yeah. So even though we had swim, and so we could sort of go through the level as if we had hit all of the buttons, the issue is that this guy would still think that the last button wasn't hit and that his world was not wet again. Wouldn't give you the talisman. He would still say the same text. He'd be like, "My world is wet again," and then just nothing happened. And so now the level it looks really weird. Once again, don't blink. We have hit the third button, but not the first and second buttons. And the things the buttons do are actually just get rid of and add certain water barriers. So now there are sort of lots of pieces of water in this room that shouldn't be there. And so Alex sort of dives underwater while he's swimming, and then dives underwater again while he's swimming, and then comes back out of the water, and now we're back on land. And it's pretty important that he's got all of the gems up to this point, because you've missed anything. It's pretty tough to get back into the swimming state.
Yeah, Lay came up with the idea of going backwards through this level, and it works out so much better than any of the other routes.
Yeah, it's a significant time save.
The only thing why it was good were those 2 5 gems up on those little arches.
Yeah, there's no other, it's so nice to finally have a way where you don't have to go to that room twice, because it used to be, you'd be in that middle room, and that's where the second button is, but after you've hit the second button, there are still 2 gems that are just out of reach until you hit the third button and everything's full of water. So showing up in that room for the first time you're in there with a swim in air so that you can get those, really convenient. It works out very well.
Now we've completed Summer Forest and its levels. Now it's time to complete all of Autumn Plains, which we didn't do any levels in. We hardly did much of the homeworld.
Yeah, we've got like that one orb and 3 gems that you grabbed that took longer than it necessarily should have, because this game is great. But pretty much other than that, we haven't done anything. And also, I guess, the gems in the pool. So there are just a few places that Alex has been in Autumn Plains that he doesn't need to backtrack to. Everywhere else, we never even... So this is a level that's routed around the mystery jar, primarily. The mystery jars in every level that they exist in both Spyro 2 and Spyro 3, the idea is sort of you find the mystery jar near the end of the level, and you break it, and then it disappears, and it reappears somewhere a little bit earlier in the level. You break it, and it sort of repeats the cycle until it gets pretty close to, or in some cases, in the spawning point for Spyro. It just sort of appears way back at the beginning of the level, finally, and you break it there, and it explodes into a burst of gems, and you get all the gems. And so obviously, in a speedrun, you really don't want to go through the whole level, do everything, get to the mystery jar at the end, and then go back through it backwards. So here we skip to the end of the level so that you could break the mystery jar. And this is a teleport. When you get all of the bones, you get a teleport, and it's not really convenient or inconvenient, I guess. It's kind of in this nice place where you don't really have to work around it at all. You just kind of get the teleport when it's natural, and how it kind of works out. But if you didn't get a teleport, the level route would still be almost the same.
Oh, whoops. I guess people wanted me to watch Bone Dance.
Oh, rip.
I really should have, because Spyro 2 Bone Dance was supposed to be a run in Spyrothon, but it didn't happen.
Oh. You will never see it.
I'm sorry.
Twitch audience. Rip forever. So there was a little bit of RNG there. There's a metal chest that was broken with a rocket, really near the beginning of the level. Alex hit the rocket. It's supposed to be right at the end of the level that the rocket is, and it breaks a metal crate that's near the beginning of the level. So, since we skipped to the end of the level, Alex hit the rocket really early, and then he collects the gems really late, and it breaks a crate, and it has 5 gems on it, and you hope that all the gems land on the platform the crate's on, but sometimes 1 or 2 of the gems fall off. There are 2 gems that seem to be capable of falling off. And if they fall off, it sort of sucks, because you kind of have to go up on the platform and then go off of the platform again this time.
Yeah, and
Fortunately, one of them fell.
Challenge I just finished was something a lot of people might have had trouble with casually.
Yeah, and it's one of those challenges that's supposed to sort of work that way. It's like the Dark Souls-esque level of challenge where the goal is like, there's a thing that's pretty tough, and until you know what's going to happen before it happens, you're just not going to be able to do it. It's just sort of based around that idea. Like, you need to sort of play through it enough that you learn where the dinosaurs are going to be so that you can be ready to kill them before they hatch. And even in casual play, that's sort of the expectation, is get in place. This is one of those speedways that it's really nice. There are no cycles in this speedway. There are no objects moving in a big circle that you want to get to at the right time so that the objects are in a good spot. So any mistake you make in this speedway really just costs you the time of the mistake you made, which is not true for all the other speedways. Because the other speedways have something that like moves in circles. So if you miss something in the speedway, odds are now the things that move in circles are all off and you're going to lose even more time later. But here, Alex bonked on a wall and is like, crap, there goes 1 second because I hit a wall. That costs 1 second. Which is good.
Yeah. And each speedway has a little hunter challenge for you to do. Little secret
Unfortunately,
challenge.
almost all of them suck.
Yeah.
Like the one in Ocean Speedway, but other than that, they're pretty boring. This one's not so bad. It's not like Icy Speedway. It's Canyon Speedway bad, but it's not great. There are 4 total speedways in the game.
Each hunter challenge is usually an auto-scroller, but Ocean Speedway, if you remember, you saw me kind of get rings that I wasn't really supposed to yet.
Yeah, that one, there's actually some sequence breaks to get it kind of done out of order and save some time. And even without the sequence breaks, it's Hunter rubber bands really hard in that challenge. So if you move fast, he'll go fast, and the challenge ends fast. So, regardless of how. So,
And the challenge I just did, you can speed it up a little bit. It doesn't
Yeah.
save much time. It's just a bunch of supercharging around and flying about as low
Yeah.
as you can, but not too
very
low.
minor. With all of the work you put in, you probably only save like 2 seconds or something. Hunter just doesn't rubber band in the same way he does in Ocean Speedway. But you can save some time, which is better than the 2 auto scroll challenges. And even if you couldn't save some time, like at least you have control over Spyro's movement, so you're actually like flying around and doing stuff. So this level, it already started like exploded. There's an orb challenge you're supposed to do that involves planting a bunch of seeds and making some magic, like beanstalk-ish-esque things grow out of the ground, and you use them all to climb up to the professor, who's like, quick, get to Juliet, she's right there, and so you get 2 orbs that way. And instead, we went from the very beginning of the level, jumped straight to the professor, which is halfway through that challenge, and then a couple more double jumps and talk to Juliet. So that challenge is done. You don't need to plant any seeds. It all gets skipped. But the challenge we can't skip is this one, the Cowlicks. Cowlicks are these weird half cow, half elephant guys. They moo. Shoot them. Goal is to corral all 7 Cowlicks to one little pen, and they're kind of scattered about the level. And their movement isn't really random unless you're pretty far away from them. They just sort of walk directly away from Spyro, but sometimes they decide that directly away from Spyro is in a really weird direction, because I think they sort of tend to prefer like 8 cardinal directions or something, and so they kind of they move weird. They do dumb things, and Cowlicks suck. And also, since we've only got Fireball here to shoot them with, really, unless you want to charge them, which is slow because you do bonk off of them. The Fireball interacts with Cowlicks in a very volatile sort of way. Hits them in a sort of wrong angle, or you accidentally hit a wall nearby them, they'll go flying off crazy directions and end up costing you a lot of time because they can fall way down. Fortunately, these ones seem to be going quite fine. There are a few little things that went sort of silly, but nothing bad.
I consider those good Cowlicks, mostly.
Yeah, like the only thing that seemed a little iffy was you accidentally shot that one wall. They pretty much just made a Cowlick bounce straight up, so it wasn't like just kind of lost the time with the Cowlick being stuck in the air, not really going the way you wanted, but he didn't like go way out of the way, which is usually what happens if you accidentally like shoot the wall next to the cowlick. Odds are he'll go flying down a ledge to be a buff.
Kind of sucks.
It's like stuck on the jar. What a jerk. So that whole room is supposed to be one that you complete by using the fireball power-up in that room. Since we already have fireball, you just kind of... The route that we use for that is really quick and neat. I enjoy that little room quite a bit.
Oh, okay. That didn't happen.
Yeah, no one saw anything. So that was just, it looked like the fireball just kind of barely missed. It hit some weird piece of geometry and didn't want to act like its explosion area of effect hit
Yeah.
the
Fireball
wall.
kind of warps hitboxes and certain things in this game. So,
Yeah, it's wonky.
it's not that terrible, but if you just aim it wrong,
Yeah.
it can be either really bad or, well,
Yeah, it
depending
can do
what
things.
you miss.
Yeah.
there's-
You can do things that you're not expecting it to do, but that are really helpful. You're like, wow, I shouldn't have hit that thing. But, because the fireball does have a, like, it hits whatever thing it shot the fireball at, and then when it stops and explodes, it also has sort of a big explosion radius where it hits everything. But that explosion radius can kind of get cut off by hitboxes sometimes, so... It generally, but not always, won't hit things like through a wall, for instance. If you shoot an explosion at one side of a wall, lots of times, but not always, it won't hit the side of the wall. But...
Another level where it's kind of based around the mystery jar, mostly.
Yeah,
And
Mystery
Calyx
Jar and that
as well.
Orb Challenge and Calyx, there's like a lot of things going on in that level. Fortunately, it doesn't get too weird. It's not linear, the route we take, but it's not the intended route, I should say, but it's very intuitive. It makes sense. You just kind of go through the level and clear rooms as you get to them. You just don't get to the rooms in the right order. Icy, or Crystal Glacier. For some reason the word icy was stuck in my head.
It is icy.
Right, it is icy. There is icy. This is
Oh, okay.
this level. We do need the 15 enemies to get a power up. So this is one of the levels where Alex will be trying to kill a lot of enemies along the route. It doesn't have any big major skips, but there's lots of small skips that get used. That camera, what the?
Yeah. Going around those little huts can be a little bit finicky.
Yeah.
Plus, this is a level where Theater makes saving time in this level more consistent. You can do
Yeah,
the
'cause you don't
same.
have to do dumb jumps.
You can do the same route without Theater, but that bridge won't be down, so you have to do a little tricky wall glide to get up to that little tunnel area.
Yeah, and it ends up... I used to try to get that into my route, but just never got it consistent enough. It's always too worried about it. Decided it wasn't worth it. So now he's got exactly 15 enemies, which is the exact number he needs to get this super fly power up. Which is what lets him fly around in here. And even if you didn't want to use super fly, I think that to get the orb for the challenge, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you do need 15 enemies regardless. I won't give you the orb.
You can probably get them without the super fly power up, but it's not reliable at all.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, I think Leatis used to, but I just feel like even if you do that, you need the power up for him to give you the orb. I could be wrong,
probably.
but you can kill all the Draklets and make them go away, but you just can't die. So now the whole level's pretty much done except for this area with George, and George has got a lot of auto-scrollery sort of things going on. First, George wants you to follow him, and that's not what Alex is doing, but if you're going through the game casually, that's what you would be doing. He just needs to stay close to George, and so he's sort of sticking in front of George, but the goal is follow George around, and now he'll kind of lead you to 3 water holes that have fish in them. So he wants you to shoot the fish so that he can eat the fish.
Yeah, his owner neglected him from food.
Yep,
This
he
his
is
only
hungry.
source.
Yeah. The guy's like, "Where's George?" And you're like, "He's starving. Let me go feed your cat and I'll get your cat back." So now that you've fed him 3 times, George has found affinity for you. Because, unlike his owner, you feed him.
Here's a nice little walk I like to do.
Yeah, it's
It's
Is that the
mostly
chargy one, or is that the camera button one? It looked like the one where you're tapping charge, right?
no, I'm just tapping down.
Oh, okay. And also, you can do the same thing pressing, tapping one of the camera buttons, but I don't think you could have done it and had the camera. So it would lock the camera behind Spyro. Like, hold L1 and tap R1 and Spyro will do the same sort of thing.
The only reason it doesn't really work with charge is because the camera centers automatically when you charge.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So it'd be the same sort of problem as the camera button one. Just couldn't do it with that camera angle. Still do it, but it just doesn't look as silly because you don't get to watch his feet.
The only reason we go slow there is to keep George on site, pretty much.
Yeah,
Well, you don't even have
he
to
gets
have
too
him on
far
site.
away, he just sits his ass on the ground.
Yeah, you don't have to have him on site at all. Just be close enough to him so that he can follow you.
Yeah. Otherwise he gets lazy.
So here's Breeze, and you're not supposed to be here with Spyro only. You're supposed to be on a little cart, actually, collecting these gears. Trolley, yeah.
Trolley that you may or may not have trouble with. And fun story
Some
for
guy
those
is
who
just asking, just all the time, trouble with the trolley, eh?
yeah. Time you fail. The trolley, you can't do like U-turns on it. You can't take a 180, so you can only turn around the track at certain parts where the track loops, and so it's very slow. On top of that, you can't charge around, so obviously it's pretty slow, but you can get this orb just by collecting all the cogs. Now, the interesting thing about that orb is for a very, very long time, so this is one of those lessons in, like, always test things yourself. If somebody's saying something about a speedrun and you don't believe them, or it sounds fishy, or just whatever you want to know, try it on your, because we're not all the smartest 100% of the time. So when I was newer in the community, I had always just heard that if you collected all those cogs, you wouldn't get the orb. And I think the reasoning behind that was mostly, if you collect some of the cogs and then you talk to the guy and you start the trolley challenge, some of the cogs will be missing, but it will still say you have 0 out of 40 cogs. So people would see that and say, oh, like, getting the cogs when you don't have the trolley doesn't count toward your cog account. So that must mean that you can't get them proper way. And then I think there were a couple of times that Cypress tried to test it, but accidentally missed a cog or two somewhere. And so he talked to the guy and he didn't get the orb. And so then everybody just said, oh, if you don't get all the cogs on, or if you get all the cogs and you talk to the guy, you still won't get the orb. And we were all like, all right, that sounds right. You guys know more than about Spyro than I do, so let's not ever test that. And one day, Yuchiism was like, they always tell me that that doesn't work. Let me see if it works. And then so she got all the cogs and got the orb and was like, hey, everybody's wrong. We can just get this orb by getting the cogs with Spyro. And everybody's like, oh, that must be PAL only or something. And then we all tried it and it's like, oh, nope, we were all wrong. So that was my lesson. And if somebody says something, it's always good to test it, because we did a really slow route for a long time there for no reason. And not only is it a slow route, but just doing trolley in a speedrun sucks, man. Messing up trolley feels crappy.
Yeah, once you fail Charlie, it's a lot of time lost.
So, not having to do trolley is great. And there's just something, like, liberating about running around up on that train track and jumping about.
So, there's supposed to be a new Scorch route, but I didn't really get around to practicing it or remembering it.
Yeah, so Alex is going to do the route he's used to. But there is a new route that you can take through this level. Was it that found it? I don't want to miss... Was it Parso?
Yeah, Parsofish.
Okay. I didn't want to say the wrong name, but then I just guessed anyway. I was right. Go me. But new route. Saves probably 12 seconds, because I'll say, because Ty did some timing and got around 10, so. Good new route, but obviously if you spend greater than 10 seconds wondering where the hell you should be going in the new route, it's gonna lose time.
Jeez.
Oh, Bombo the sniper, man. Fortunately, every time you get hit by one of these things, Bombo starts over and you have to go and chase him again. But the way this challenge works is you need to get 3 flags in order from him, one at a time, and the first flag spawns in like the 3rd out of 4 rooms in the level, and then the second flag spawns in the 2nd out of 4, and then the 3rd flag spawns way back in the 1st room. And so the later you are on Bombo and you fail, the worse it gets. So if you're on the 3rd Bombo and he starts way back at the 1st room, and then you have to run all the way to the last room, and then you fail in the same spot Alex got, a bomb hit him, it'll set you back a lot of time. But fortunately, where Alex got hit, it's just like it's a dumb little 5-second time loss, like crap.
Usually when you're around that area, most of the time he'll try to aim it at you during that spot.
Yeah, so you can kind of weave, bob and weave.
You're so...
Sometimes he just reads you like a book, man.
Yeah.
He knows. He throws bombs. It feels pretty random. I mean, it's obviously partially position based, because he throws bombs like usually not right at you, but kind of around you. So sometimes it's like where you're going, and sometimes it's not. But it's definitely relatively random. There's no good way to predict exactly where a bomb's gonna get thrown at you.
It was an interesting.
Sometimes you just got
grab.
Yeah, it was.
The monkeys are great. Just charge the tree before I get hit. I'll be.
So this is the monkeys challenge, and you just need to get a bunch of monkeys in a barrel, which has got to be inhumane. Like, look at this. This barrel is smaller than one of the monkeys, and Hunter's being a huge jerk. He's cramming 6 monkeys into this tiny ass barrel, and he's hauling them off to the zoo, I think. So this is like the animal cruelty difficulty challenge. We are cramming 6 monkeys into a barrel that's about the size of 0.75 monkeys and taking them to the zoo so that they can be forever in captivity.
Thanks for your help.
Luckily, though, I don't feel as bad because the monkeys are huge assholes and they throw coconuts at you. And Hunter. And if they hit Hunter, you fail the challenge. And if you fail the challenge in the situation we're at, which is while chasing Bombo,
Yeah.
Bombo will disappear. Like, he's just gone. And you've got to go and talk to Handle again to make Bombo reappear. And he'll reappear where he was. It's not like you start the whole challenge over. He'll still, like, third Bombo will spawn. You won't have to start over at the first Bombo. But still, Handle's way over here at the end of the level. So it definitely loses a lot of time for fail monkeys, which almost never happens. It's like, it's not a thing anybody should anticipate happening in a speedrun. But if and when it does, it's really bad in this route. Because failing monkeys is slow because you have to redo monkeys, and then you have to go back and talk to Handle, and then start the Bombo you were on over again. Bad. It's a lot of things.
So the only, I guess, major mistake was getting bomboed on the first one. So that's not too bad.
Yeah, getting bomboed on the first one, like I was saying, is pretty minor time loss wise. Especially compared to what that level can throw at you. You can get like super unavoidable get hit by third Bombo time losses where just like he hits you with one bomb and it's like it's a 30-second bomb. He just like smacks you with a plus 30 seconds on your splits. So this is Fracture Hills. There's going to be a sort of seemingly out of place explosion.
Like right there.
And the reason is when you shoot one of these, when you free one of these guys from their stone by either charging into them or breathing fire at them, they everything stops. Spyro loses control of his, like you lose control of Spyro, and then you watch this cutscene where they play bagpipes, and then Alex skips the cutscene pretty quick, but watch that cutscene where they blow up the mountain. And there are a couple situations in these routes where we get to shoot one guy who's really far away with a fireball, and so then while the fireball's en route, you shoot the other guy closer to you, and so you end up getting 2 fireball hits overlapped, so you only have to lose control of Spyro once. But then one of the cutscenes sort of
Just
cancels the other cutscene. So one cutscene starts, and then the other cutscene just can't really start technically. So it starts playing out, but it doesn't like make Spyro lose control like it properly should. And so you skip the first cutscene, and then the other one that's also playing at the same time, you never really skip, and it's still just playing in the background. So eventually, when the cutscene sort of runs its course and there's an explosion to blow up the talisman room, this kind of happens in the middle of the level while you're playing. It's just kind of interesting. Right now, the alchemist is walking around. Normally, you'd be trying to push a bunch of earth shapers out of the way so the alchemist could
man.
sort of slowly make his way to Hunter here and free his feet from the big rock.
As long as
And instead, Alex just killed all the earth shapers really quickly, so the alchemist was taking a long, windy route, but he had no chance of getting killed or anything. So while the alchemist was doing that, Alex was off running around and doing a bunch of other stuff. Sorts of shenanigans. Get a bunch of gems and get the orb. And you also did the Seder cutscene, which is actually, it's an incredibly tight timing. I don't think anybody else really even goes for this because it's really, really difficult. I've tried a few times. I've definitely never managed to pull it off, let alone get it consistent enough to slap it in the room. Boom, there is the other explosion. And yep, now the level's already over.
Yeah, that level would usually go really long if you did not have Fireball.
Yeah.
Plus you'd
Especially
have
if
to
you're doing
backtrack.
things the quote-unquote intended way.
Yeah.
There are lots of... Because there's a wall that you're supposed to break with Supercharge, and it's kind of this... Like, the Supercharge is put, like, purposefully very close to the wall that you're supposed to break, but they've got it around some ledges that you're not supposed to be able to jump up and over with the Supercharge, but you totally can. But you're not supposed to be able to. You have to do some weird, goofy stuff to make it work. And so you end up having to run around this long, windy track with the Supercharge while trying to not hit any of the walls and going up and off ramps and stuff, and then you finally get to the end and you circle around the whole level and you can finally break this wall. But instead we just shot the wall with a fireball. So... Now we're in Magma Cone, and this route here is... It's not super crazy, I guess. I mean, it's not very linear, but the level layout here is kind of strange. The level's just kind of one big circle, and it's like a big donut around this mountain.
Ready when you are.
And when you go into the top of the mountain, you go to this area that Alex out of bounds to get into, which is sort of a Hunter Challenge area, kind of this underground bit. And then off to one of the sides is sort of when you get to you finished going around the big donut, and then there's a volcano that's sort of the second area. But neither of those areas really have a linear path. They're just like,
Okay.
there's the above ground area, and then there's the volcano area. That's pretty much it besides this little Hunter Challenge spot. So you just kind of get all the gems in both of those areas and do a couple of orb challenges. So the route doesn't look too crazy, but there is a lot of optimization involved in getting the gems in this level. I actually find it very fun, jumping around, shooting fireballs at all of the rocket faces and stuff. It's kind of neat. This popcorn seems to be going quite well. Alright.
So it was going really well, but I tried to snipe some from Hunter.
You're
Didn't
really
go well.
Yeah, and you almost got them too. Like, those could have happened. It definitely wasn't, like, dumb that you went for those or anything, because those were gettable. Just barely got missed.
So I kind of jumped there because there's a guy right here that can snipe you pretty easily. He's annoying.
Yeah, he always throws rocks sort of at about the same time, because he's usually on the same site when you get to him. So you can kind of anticipate, even though he's totally off screen, that he's going to try to hit you with a rock.
He'll always throw a rock at you. Oh, okay. Not what I wanted to do with that ladder.
But it worked out. Sometimes that Spyro's movement on ladders can get really dumb, like really super dumb. Just he decides that the wall is his very best friend and he's got no interest in doing anything but looking at the wall forever. And it can get really stupid. So now this is a interesting route. The goal is to kill all of these 12 party poopers. Normally you'd need to use some rocks to shoot at them because they don't die to normal flames, but they do die to fireballs, so we just use fireball. That's easy peasy. But once again, there's a teleport when you kill the last guy, and Alex, during that teleport, would also like to get the talisman. Talisman you get by getting to the top of the volcano. So he tries to kill the last guy, and then he gets teleported, but then the shutting the volcano cutscene also happens. So he gets the orb. He gets teleported to the orb, gets the orb, and then like immediately gets teleported to the talisman, gets the talisman, and it works out really nice. It's a cute looking little sequence break. That was Magma Cone. Now it's Shady Oasis time. Shady Oasis is a level that is not really done in the order you're supposed to. I mean, it sorta is, but it sorta isn't. There's a mystery jar in this level, and this mystery jar is sort of unique, where in most of them we sort of skip to the end of the level to get the mystery jar, and then do the rest of the level that way. This one, you can sort of hit the mystery jar from the beginning of the level. Instead of skipping to the end, you just kind of shoot the mystery jar very early. And that's only possible because we've got Fireball. So you'll see him, he just kind of shot a fireball upwards, and I promise it just hit the mystery jar through a floor.
Yeah, mystery jar, I guess as you might have said, at the end of the level.
Yeah, right at the end, but instead of skipping to it, just shoot it. And then kind of try to get the rest of it. So we've sort of stuck around the first 2 rooms of the level, but we've managed to shoot all of the mystery jar instances anyway. So the mystery jar's state is, it's actually just in the final. There's one more mystery jar to hit way back at the beginning of the level. I believe your route ends there. That room?
Yeah. Kind of need you. Actually, I'm under-enemied. Yeah, I'm under-enemied. Crap.
Oh no.
By 1.
This is a level that needs 18
At
enemies.
least I think so. Oh, I guess an enemy got delayed or something, but...
Yeah, sometimes that happens. Your count doesn't go up for a while because the corpse takes a while to poof and something dumb happens, but...
Spyro.
Yeah, you need exactly 18 enemies in this level.
Thanks for helping.
Yeah, usually I have a queue for how many enemies I need before a certain room, and it's
Yeah.
usually before the blue room I need 10 enemies minimum.
For some reason it only read as 9, but down in the end, so yeah, probably just an enemy count getting delayed.
Oh, guess that
And he
doesn't work.
talked to a guy at the end of the level that
Might eat bread.
he caused these 3 different thieves to spawn, the guys with the magical lamps, and then you gotta kill all of those guys. That's another level teleport situation. Last thief will teleport him back to the end of the level to the guy he talked to.
Yeah, I actually didn't do a thing before I started this challenge, was snipe this guy off camera.
Yeah, sometimes you can do that. You shoot a fireball at this guy early, but then you never look at him again so that he doesn't properly die. And then you just kind of look at him at the end of the challenge and you kind of speed up the teleport a little bit that way.
Yeah. Thing is with that challenge, where I had to free a bunch of hippos, you need head bash for it. And the thing is, why we need to kill enemies for it is because the guy thinks we're not good enough.
Yeah.
We need the it's basically a shield power up so that we don't sink into the goop.
Yeah, it makes you invincible to like all damage, the shield.
Even though we can just fireball the guys from a far distance.
Yeah, like we would not need that shield. That shield is not necessary as far as like from our current state in the run. We could totally do the level and never touch the invincibility, but the guy who starts the challenge does not agree, and he refuses to let you start it once you've got the shield power up. So that's why you need the 18 enemies in the level. This is Icy Speedway.
It sucks.
Yeah. It's got a bad case of fireballs not hitting stuff when it feels like fireballs should be hitting stuff, and sometimes it's because they missed and it just didn't look like it, and sometimes it's because you like turn away a little too quick and they deload before they hit the target. There's these dumb cycles. It's another situation like I was talking about. Things in the speedway moving in a big circle. And
Yeah, I need them
you have to
line
get
up
to things.
for
Yeah,
these arches,
exactly.
which it would have worked out fine had I gotten that.
Yeah, like he
Oh,
missed
that's no
one.
deal.
Hey, I'll tow you behind my
Missed one Loch Ness monster, so then that throws everything off of like the route you're used to. But then Alex still had a route that was lined up really nice. Would have worked, but snowmobile. You like went straight through it. It looked like you must have just barely missed it because it was
It's kind of
top
a
of
little
it.
bit over it, but you'd expect like giant hitboxes to work. But sometimes things don't have giant hitboxes.
yeah.
So here's another auto-scroller that you can't speed up.
Yep,
You
nothing to
just,
do.
You just have to be good. Or not lose focus at all.
Way to
And excuse the coughing in the background.
So that was Icy Speedway. Didn't go as great as it could have, but it could have been much worse. That Speedway can be really dumb. Things go really wrong sometimes. It's like an endless torrent of time loss. Like miss one guy and then it makes you miss another guy and then you miss an arch and then like suddenly everything's wrong. So now we're done with Autumn Plains. All the levels, everything's done, and all that's left is Winter Tundra. I believe in your route, right, you only did Robotica Farms and Canyon Speedway, so you've pretty much just got 3 levels left in Winter Tundra here. Then Ripto. Now, Mystic Marsh, I could sort of try explaining the route, but there is so much going on here. So, I guess the important thing is that there's this challenge that you're supposed to do where you're supposed to get you're supposed to get the Professor's Pencil, and to get the Professor's Pencil, you need to, like, first he gives you a seed, first he gives you an egg, and you take the egg to a nest, and the nest gives you a seed, and you take the seed to a plant, and the plant gives you a duck, which super makes sense, and then you take the duck to a mama duck, and the mama duck gives you a turnip radish, and you put the turnip radish in a cauldron, and the cauldron gives you a lucky coin. You use the lucky coin to make a wish at a fountain, and the fountain gives you a pencil. So that's what you want most in the world, is a pencil. So you go and you get that for the professor, and everything's all right in the world. But unfortunately, all those areas are spread all across the map in really stupid places. And as if that didn't make the level route stupid enough, they decided that what you also needed was a guy that you need to talk to near the end of the level, and he's got 4 spark plugs that you need to find. And so once you talk to him, 4 thieves spawn, and they have 4 spark plugs, and you need to kill them and get their spark plugs. But unfortunately, every time you kill a guy with a spark plug, it stops your camera and everything sucks, and you have to like sit and wait and watch a spark plug. And we can get past that barely by pausing. You can pause and then make that go a little bit faster. And so here he's going to try to shoot 2 guys with spark plugs at the same time. Shoots one, and then before he loses control, he shoots another, and he also gets the orb at the end of the level. And so then he ties up 3 situations where he loses control of Spyro and makes them all into one, which is pretty nice. And other than that, he's just kind of running around the level and doing things, and I promise it's the fastest way you can do it, but because everything is like all over the stupid level, it's really backwards. It's just like you kind of go around and get a bunch of gems and get a bunch of stuff along the way, and when you kill the last spark plug guy, you get teleported too, so that makes everything dumb. And you've got an object that you need to hold in Spyro's mouth. So like one of the things that you're carrying around from one location to another, and you get teleported without holding that, then that item's gonna go and spawn back where it started. That can be bad. So here's the last spark plug guy, and Alex has a duck. So he's gonna shoot the duck so he can shoot the guy with the fireball, and then he's gonna make sure to pick the duck back up again before he loses control of Spyro. So once he loses control, he's destined for a teleport. Really want to teleport with the duck. It's important. Duck. Now we're actually already almost done with the level. Got the duck. We've just got to take the duck to the mama duck. And there's not a lot of gems now between the mama duck, like, because we've been forced to go through pretty much the whole level at this point anyway. So there's not a whole lot left to grab. There's a few gems along the way. But unfortunately, the mama duck and the cauldron are on opposite ends of the level. Then
excuse me? Okay.
Mountain does not love you.
It's my first failed double jump in the run. I think so.
Yeah, what happens is sometimes you're just holding forward a little bit too much. You have a little bit too much forward momentum, and so you press charge and you're trying to do a double jump, but instead you just get a normal, how the game is supposed to act when you charge in the air after a jump, which is a sort of downward charge instead of an upward one. So, there we go. That was Mystic Marsh, pretty much. We've got the Professor's Pencil, and we get the last 2 gems right before we get teleported to the Professor. And then you get his orb, and then you're out of there. So, it's a lot of stuff. The route's really dumb, but it's actually a really fun level, in my opinion. I enjoy doing it when everything goes right. There's just also a lot of dumb things that can go wrong. Alex lost a little bit of time there to the fountain being dumb, but it wasn't too bad. It was overall quite minor.
Well, it's...
And then this is Cloud Temples. It gets done a little bit wonky, but not nearly as weird as Mystic Marsh. So, the only thing that's going to be super strange is, well, for one, there's a challenge that you're supposed to do by getting enough enemies to unlock a ice power-up, and the ice power-up lets you freeze these little trolls that are all on fire and running around. And when you freeze them, they turn into ice blocks, and then you can use those blocks as platforms, and you kind of jump up the platform slowly to get to some bells, and then hit the bells and ring them. But instead, you're going to use the combination of double jump and fireball to just kind of hit the bells. And one of the side effects of that is that the trolls don't even spawn until the ice power-up exists. So he's going to do the level, and it's going to look like there are no trolls, but they still exist, they're still there, they're just not moving, and they are invisible. So in these few rooms where he's hitting bells right now, he's also taking sort of specific routes around the rooms to make sure that he doesn't run into any of the invisible guys hanging out in the room. And then you hit 2 bells, you get teleported once, and then you hit a final bell and you get teleported again, because this game loves teleporting you all over the place. So that's that challenge. And then the other 2 orbs are the end of level orb, which you get by going to the end of the level. And then there's the Agent Zero orb, which you get by playing a sort of game of hide-and-seek-ish. You have to follow a guy without the guy ever seeing you, and then you get to his secret base. And we'd like to sort of get those orbs at the same time, because the hide-and-seek-ish thing is sort of an auto-scroller. The guy travels at a set speed to his secret base. So we're going to kill this last guy at the end of the level, which eventually will cause Alex to be teleported to the end of level guy. And then during that, he's going to also talk Agent Zero and then run behind this tree, which causes Agent Zero to start walking to his secret base. So now he can get teleported and get the end of level orb, and Agent Zero has already sort of completed the first leg of his walk to the secret base. So it's a small little break. Once you get used to the timing, it's pretty easy to pull off. The hardest part is aiming that fireball. It's pretty precise because there are a lot of walls that it can run into. And then you just have to follow Agent Zero to the end of his secret base, and there are a bunch of gems in this last area, and you really like to get all of them. these are the last gems also in the level, so Alex is going to try to get all of them before Agent Zero gets to his base, so that he can get all the gems, and then the last thing he has to do is talk to the guy right when he gets to his base. Alternatively, you could leave some of those gems, but it's not desirable. So with that, pretty much just got... The only orbs left are all in Metropolis, and then there are a few gems left in the hub world as well. That's about it. 47 gems in the hub world, and then 400 gems in Metropolis. 4 orbs in Metropolis. That's all we got left in the game, so... Very last leg here. And Metropolis is a pretty quick level. It's got a lot of, big gems. Lots of the gems are gold and purple gems. So they give you big quantities of gems.
Alright. So near the end of the level, there's a global cycle of UFOs flying around in that area that I want to try to play the level as best as I can to beat that cycle.
Yeah, they all... Global cycle just meaning you happen to be unaware that they... No matter what you do, like, they just started moving as soon as Alex got to the beginning of this level. And they're just gonna keep moving until Alex gets to them. And so he's gonna try to play everything just right. All the way up until that area so that he'll know exactly where they're going to be when he gets to that room. Fortunately, because this level isn't too long, that really just means getting through, like, pretty optimally. So it's not like a huge, difficult thing to get that cycle to work out. But you do have to be pretty consistent. I'm not consistent enough to really... I still haven't worked out a cycle that works for me. I just kind of do what I have to every time I get to this UFO area. So, UFOs come in 2 sections, and the ones he's worried about for the global cycle are the first 3 UFOs that he has to kill. It looks like they were about where I planned on them being, which is good. And so, this room is also, it's a really big room, and because you can get this super fly power up here, they've got a lot of gems in high up places. They've got a lot of, gems in balloons and things that you need to shoot with Fireball. Because this power-up's actually one that even if he didn't have Fireball, permanently, he'd be given Fireball. Those last 5 UFOs always spawn in the same place. They're not on a global cycle or anything, they just... Once you start the second UFO challenge they just spawn in the right spot, so those ones are a lot easier. First 3, though, are the ones that it's good that Alex did the whole level very well so that they were right where they're supposed to be. Now he's just getting the rest of the gems he left over for after the UFOs. During the first set of UFOs, he kind of blew up everything he had to. So that all the gems that were in balloons and stuff are no longer. So there we go. Last level complete. Time to go kill Ripto.
I ended up hitting spacebar instinctively, even though I'm using splits.
Splitting. That's why that little screen opened. I saw that. Then, this boss, if you were looking forward to a really fun, difficult Ripto fight that goes the way it usually goes, which is a pretty cool fight, that's not going to happen, because when you've got Fireball, Suddenly you can just hurt this boss all the time with Fireball, and the first two phases become incredibly trivial. The only thing he's worried about in these two phases is at the end of the first phase, there is a way that he can shoot a Fireball and then skip the cutscene really quick so that he hits a guy in second phase, which worked. So he shot the Fireball backwards and then it hit Gulp in second phase. And he's going to do the same thing in the transition from phase 2 to 3. He's going to aim up and shoot a Fireball up where Ripto spawns, and now you can see there it hit him again. So he got both of those quick hits. And now here's the only non-trivial part of this boss fight, is phase 3, because it normally gives you a Fireball power-up. So this phase goes the way it's supposed to. In casual play, sort of, except
And
obviously
time coming up.
Yep.
Now.
Pow.
Jeez,
Got the
that,
double hit? Yeah. Perfect. So that's the other final time saver.
that was a really, really good run. The only thing that really went wrong was during Gulp Skip.
Yeah,
And I had
Gulp
to-
Skip wasn't great, and that whole thing with the orb for that with the gems orb platform. So all in the Gulp Skip split. And everything else, it was pretty minor stuff, like getting hit by Bombo on phase 1, which is like the least bad thing that can happen on Bombo, if something bad's gonna happen on Bombo.
Yeah, okay,
Stuff like that.
SDA timing, that would be 144, 52.
Dang.
I was close to a PB.
Yeah, that was like a world record pace run, even with...
Moneybags is very
Yeah, the Gulp Skip split probably, like, if you were using splits, that would have been like a plus 130 split. Like, things did not go great there, but things went really great everywhere else, so sick run. That's awesome.
Spyro, you can now go to Dragon Shores. Hey,
Dang.
why don't you guys come with me? I bet you could use
Usually in the
some-
marathon setting, that's like
Ripto may be gone, but he caused a lot of damage during his
not
short
likely to
stay.
happen.
We'll be cleaning up for weeks. Just
Yeah,
remember, though, that
that's-
you can always get back to Avalar from
Yeah,
Dragon
that's pretty
Shores if you want
surprising.
to visit.
Because that world record,
Come on,
and
Sparks,
for
we got a lot of
a
vacations
little
to
bit
catch
of,
up on.
I can't find the right, I don't know, clarification is not the word I'm looking for, but I'm going to stick with it because I can't find the right words. AllyDest's best time is already about 7 minutes ahead of the second best time. So his time is like really, really, really good, and he's only like 4 minutes behind his sum of best or whatever. So there's not a whole lot of time left to shave off on his run, and he's the only one capable of shaving that much time off of it right now. So the fact that he is within a minute of his run,
it's just RNG going nicely or decently, and then just
Yeah.
consistent movement throughout.
consistent play. Because yeah, there is some RNG. There's not a bunch, but there is some that can really screw you. You got good hockey, or decent hockey, and decent fish, which is nice because in a marathon setting, those can just, poop all over your run.
If Evan doesn't mind if we can do a Tunnel of Love, little traditional thing to end a runoff.
Yeah, it's sort of the way Spyro 2 has always been. Go to the Tunnel of Love. Don't want to make assumptions here, but I'm pretty sure that... No, I don't know. Did Cypress do the Tunnel of Love thing before I did? Now I can't even remember. It was either me or Cypress who started doing that. I don't want to claim it for sure because it really could have been Cypress. It's so long ago now, I can't really remember, but people have been doing that for a long time now. You go to the Tunnel of Love and you... Yes,
Alright,
it's going to be there.
I'll just skip the credits. Because they kind of last a while. And I don't want to delay
Eat up
more,
any more time.
yeah, delay more time for the next and last run. Just Spyro 3 17%.
By the way,
This is going to be really good.
It's done by breaking you.
Yeah, Grant's very good at that game.
free.
Grant and
You
AllyDest
pay no
both have
money
times
down
that are
and make no
really, really
money
close to
payment.
each other.
In return,
And
4
I'll
seconds
give you one
apart.
token. One
Yeah.
Funny story.
And either of them is very capable of
I
beating their times.
I improved the previous record, which was 328.01 by me, to a 325.29. And then Grant, a few hours later, got a time that was 4 seconds better.
Yeah. It was
And
a
he
run
was-
that he had already started by the time Alex finished his run that ended up getting the world record
He was wanting
again.
He was wanting a record for a while, and I felt bad because I made it harder on him.
Yeah,
Nope.
and then it turned out the run that he was on was already
friend.
cut out to beat it, so.
Alright, here we go.
Tunnel of Love. The whole idea here is you guess whose Spyro is going to be paired with when he comes out on the other side. And there are a few options. You've got the brother, who's the guy from Colossus, and you've got the chef, and you've got Handel. You've got the fawn, who's boring, and you've got George. And I think I got out all of the important ones. Or all of them.
We got the most common one, Fawn.
Oh, fawn. Like I said, it's boring. There are multiple times that you can get fawn. There are lots of fawns in the tunnel, but there's like only one brother and there's only one Handle. Chef, stuff like that. So that's why we say it's boring. But, you know, that's what it's like when you place your bets on the Tunnel of Love.
And for people watching, this is why we want to be Sparksless coming here.
Yep. We could try to do the swim,
And it crashes.
but we had a crash because we've got sparks. And for some reason, not having sparks there just makes it consistently not crash instead, which is neato.